So we love this area of the garden now. It's gotten really jungly. We put in this, yeah, I was just experimenting with tomatoes this year and trying to figure out how I wanted to grow them on this property. Um, they're doing great. I don't like this setup. It's going to change next year and I'll show you what I'm doing. Part of the reason why this setup isn't great is because there's not enough airflow, and tomatoes really need airflow if you live in sort of a wetter, hotter, moist area, if it's not arid, and you can get fungus, and I've lost a few tomatoes to brown rot, but overall we just love how awesome and jungly this is. And I've got about 11 varieties, 12 varieties of heirloom tomatoes of all sizes and flavors. I've got black crims, purple Cherokees, mortgage lifters, tigerellas, and they're just going nuts. We'll probably have a couple 100 pounds of tomatoes this year when it's all said and done. Maybe close to 3, but that would be pushing it. Definitely we're gonna have at least 250 pounds of tomatoes. And so yeah, so we decided next year we're gonna make sort of some very specialized tomato growing beds here. We have this beautiful Atriano fig, which I thought 100% we were gonna lose to spring rot and to the cold, but turns out that it decided it really likes it here, and it's even fruiting this year. So our plan with, we have this fig here and we have this nectarine tree here, which finally started producing fruit this year, but the deer ate it. The deer ate the one nectarine we got. So we're going to keep this really small vertically and let it grow out a little bit more horizontally, and the same thing with this fig tree. So we're just going to keep them a little shorter, a little more shrubby, so that they're not casting shadow on this tomato growing area, and it'll keep it really nice and full in here. We had some really great blueberries this year too, and we'll show you a little more about that. So this is one of the little baby pawpaws we planted last year that was probably about this big. It's 10 times the size it was when it started. I've had a lot of people tell me that pawpaws could not be grown in this area and that they would not do well, and I know that to not be the case. So if you're in zone 8 and somebody tells you that, don't listen to them. The weather's changing here and our winters are getting more mild, and this thing is doing awesome. And I have a friend at school who grows pawpaws and actually has successful fruiting, and they are delicious. If you don't know what a pawpaw is, it's a bit like a cross between a mango and a banana, and they are the United States' largest indigenous fruit. And they can be an understory fruit. So if you see right there, there is an American persimmon tree, and that is a baby tree. And that's gonna grow a lot taller than the pawpaw, so this will eventually be the understory to that tree. Even though that one's smaller, it's a get up to a 30 or 40 foot tree. So we have pawpaws here, we've got bees, more bees, we have a lot of blueberries in here that are doing great. We had great blueberry harvests. Again, same with the strawberries, best fruit I've ever had, better than anything I bought at a store. And we just can't wait until these are bigger and growing more. And for whatever reason, we haven't had any problems with birds in the blueberries, but I think that's only a matter of time. And we had biggest problems with deer, and you can see in here this gooseberry has been stripped and it's trying to rebound by growing new leaves, but we've gotten 0 fruiting from the gooseberries, and chances are good we're just gonna lose probably all of the gooseberries, maybe all but 2 or 3 of the gooseberries that we planted last year. So we planted about 12 gooseberries and they're just not doing very well. And we kind of decided that rather than take action against the deer, that we wanted to just pick species the deer are not eating. So the deer are not eating blueberries. We're gonna let go of the gooseberries, maybe give them to some of our friends, dig them up, who live closer in city and who don't have deer, and we're gonna focus on things the deer don't like. And that kind of goes with our whole concept of working with ecosystems. The deer are our friend, and they provide a service as part of a greater ecosystem. So as long as they're not killing everything we're growing, we're going to try to work with them. A lot of the currants that we put up are doing great. We've got white currants, red currants, black currants, flowering currants, and we're going to be seeing some nice fruit from these definitely next year. And what else? We've got some cherry plums, and these guys got munched up pretty good this year from aphids, but we haven't put anything on them. We're just kind of letting them figure it out, and we'll just see what happens. I really am trying not to use neem oil or too many foliar sprays. I'm trying to just kind of create the ecosystems that will be self-sustaining. Got a little bit of jostaberry here, and this is pretty interesting, this ring that it's nothing else is growing. That's actually this plant is spitting out poison and telling the other plant to get away. And this is, when you see something like this is kind of an interesting idea on the whole concept of creating biodiversity and ecosystems, because if that plant wasn't there, this vine ground cover would be invasive. So if you plant a lot of different things, you can keep most invasive species in check. We used to have a problem with spearmint taking over the garden, but we planted so many things, now that spearmint's only growing in a little area. So again, this comes back to the kind of the concepts of permaculture, where you want a lot of biodiversity and everything just sort of balances itself out. And so I think it's starting to work. We're not quite there yet. We still have some imbalances in the project and the system, but we're getting there a little closer than we were last year.